How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be breaking down this style of mixed media effect right here. I've done this across 3 different compositions. I'm going to show you how easy this is to pull off with no plugins whatsoever. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you a little script that I made that basically allows you to apply all these layers with one click. But before I get into that, I'm going to show you what basically this script is built up on. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to have the script to pull off something like this. So let's just jump right into it. These are the 3 different clips that I'm going to use. Right, so let's jump into After Effects and start breaking this down. First of all, break down the Kendrick Lamar effect. So basically I've just taken his Rich Spirit video and I'm going to start cutting out some little clips inside this. So we can just drag this line to here and get it to the area that we want, and we can just drag the other one to match it. Great. We can just right click this and make a new comp from selection, and from here we can just double click this clip in our timeline. Make sure your quality is on full here, and we can just come up to our roto brush tool. Let's just select around Kendrick Lamar here, and this mask should do a good enough job. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. We can just feather this out a bit, and we can just maybe reduce the chatter as well a tiny bit. You can scrub along here just to see how your mask is, and that's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to press freeze here, and basically this means that on your timeline it doesn't have to keep reanalyzing the mask that it's made, so it just locks in what we've set. Great, so that's done a great job cutting him out there. So let's just come back to our clip here, and I'm just gonna get maybe 1 or 2 more pieces of footage. I like this one here, so we can just drag this to here. That stops there. Great. We can just do the same thing. We can right click, new comp from selection, and for this one we're just gonna do a rough mask just because he stays pretty center in the screen. Cool, so we have both of our clips there, and maybe let's just get one more. Just gonna get this phone here and drag this out. Right click our clip and new comp from selection. So we have 3 clips there that we can use. I'm gonna just come up here, new composition. We can call this composition 1, 1920 by 1080, and that's all perfect. Right, we don't need to see that anymore, and we can just make this fit to our screen. Great. So let's just drag in those 3 comps that we've just made, and we can kind of place these where we want. So this is our main one. This is going to be a bit over to the left, and then I'm going to just scale this back one up a good bit. Maybe place it somewhere over here. Right, so when we press play you can see that, yeah, it is what it is. It's just all the different clips cut out. So let's add some effects to this. So basically this whole effect is just different adjustment layers built up to kind of give you that really mixed media feel. So first thing we're going to do is add in an adjustment layer, and we can call this frame rate. On this we can just come up and add a posterized time, and let's just make this 8 seconds. 8 frames per second, sorry. Right, so that's already given us a bit more of a jagged feel. And now we're going to add in a grain. So we can just right click, new adjustment layer, and call this noise. I'm just going to come up to my effects and then drag and drop in a noise, and we can just increase this to how much that we like. So maybe something like that. Right, that's a lot. Maybe something like that. Great. Now we're going to add in another adjustment layer, and we're going to call this flicker and shake. First effect we're going to bring in is our exposure, and we're going to just bring in a transform as well. We can just come down here to our flicker and shake, expand our effects and our exposure, and in our master we're just going to give this a value of something like 0.1, and we can just alt click on our little stopwatch here and then type in wiggle. Let's give it something like 22 and 0.1. Right, so we can see that's kind of just doing a light little flicker. So now let's add in some shake to this. We can just close that exposure, and in our transform we're just gonna alt click our position, add in a wiggle, and let's give this something like 10 and 6. Now we can go down to our scale and same thing, wiggle, and we're gonna give this a 2 and a 3. So that's just kind of zooming in and out then. And then last thing we're gonna do is a wiggle on our rotation. We don't want it too much, so we're gonna go like 0.5 and 2. Right, that's already looking a hell of a lot better. And now we're gonna start adding in our main layer, which is going to be another adjustment layer, and we can drag this to the bottom. We can call this texture main. Right, so first thing we're gonna do is add in a CC ball action. In our grid spacing, we can do something like, I'm gonna do something maybe like 2 and 68, something like that. And next thing we're gonna do is add in a fill underneath this. And our mask color is going to be black. We can just come up and we're gonna add in a solid composite underneath our fill, and we're gonna make the mask white and just blur this a bit. So we can add in some blur, make a Gaussian blur, and maybe give this something like 4. And then we're gonna just add in a CC composite, and for our transfer mode we're gonna make this a hard mix. Add in another blur, and let's do a fastbox blur, and we can do 1 and maybe 1.5 and 1. And then we're gonna add in a brightness and contrast, maybe something like -5 and -5, just to see how that's looking. Then we're gonna add in a turbulent displace, and we can bring this right down, so like 29, and then our size to something like 3. And then the last thing we're gonna do is just add in one more CC composite, and we're gonna make the transfer mode to color. As you can see, our composition is looking super dark there. What we can do just to play around with this texture effect is just come up to our CC ball action and maybe bring this down a bit, our ball size down, and as you can see, you're kind of getting a lot more coming through here. You can also play with this brightness and contrast, and this will also adjust the look a lot as well. So something like that is looking good. Right, so basically that is the effect in itself. So if we press play here, you can see how that is looking. Right, that's already looking really good. Another thing we can do is just, because of our edges getting kind of ruffled here, we can just come over to our flicker and shake, and maybe just increase this scale here a tiny bit. We can also add in some fringing around the edges here, so we can just right click, new, make a new solid, and just make it black. And now with our pen tool, we can just come here and just make a really rough mask, something like this. Come down to our mask and invert that, and we can just feather this out a good bit. And let's just drag and drop this under our flicker and shake, and we can just scale this up a good bit like that, just so it's kind of catching the edges. And that adds in a nice little effect there as well. Right, so now we can take this kind of to the next level, and we can start adding in some different shapes in the background. And I feel like this just really cuts the different things out of the scene. So we can just come up here, Control Alt and Home, just to center that, and maybe let's just give this a nice orange color. Bring it underneath our main layer here, and we can scale this up. And then we can just come over and add in a fast box blur and just increase this loads. Now we can just play around with the different blend modes. There's so many different effects you can do here, but that's looking pretty good like that. Now we can just set a position and a scale keyframe, press U, and you can just do whatever you want with it, basically. It's completely up to you, but yeah, I think something like this is going to look really good. Right, so this is the effect that we get. I think that looks really good, and it is fairly simple to kind of fill that out, but just to save time and stuff, I've turned this into a little script that basically populates the scene with all those different effects just with a few clicks, right? So let's just come up here and let's do a new composition, and let's just call this composition 02. And let's just drag and drop in another clip that we have. So I got this from TikTok, and I'll leave the TikTok tag in it just so you know who the creator is. Let's say we wanted to apply the same effect to this footage using the script. So I have it here, and this is the script, and I have 4 different outputs. So I have moody mix, bright mix, vibey mix, and difference. Basically, the moody mix is the one that I kind of just showed you. And once you press that, it'll just add in all those different layers, and it will automatically apply that effect. And that looks really good already. What if we had pressed difference? What I've done is just added in a circle layer and just changed some of the blending options. And you can kind of see the effect that it gives you here. Great. So yeah, this is just really handy to have on the go. Literally can turn your footage into that mixed media feel with a few clicks. Let's just add it to one other clip just to see how procedural it is. So let's just go composition 03, and let's just drag in this last clip that we have here. Basically, this is just someone on an elevator going up and down it, or just up it. But yeah, nice clip. So I have this preset here called Vibey Mix. And what that does is basically applies a tint as well. So you can come in here and you can fully affect the different colors that are coming through. So let's say we want that to be like something like that. Yeah, and I just think it's super procedural across any different footage that you have. So that's basically the tutorial for today. I know, super short. Yeah, I thought it was pretty useful, and it gives you a really nice mixed media type effect. As usual, all the links will be in the description for this, including this script as well. And yeah, I'd love for you to send me some of the edits that you've used this on. And also, this is just the basis. You can fully customize this out now that you know how I've basically made the script. So hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? But no, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Cheers.